Five terrifying tunnels with paranormal tales. Echoey, dark, and eerie, tunnels are perfect places for evil people who do sinister things they want to keep hidden, which is probably why so many underground passageways around the world are said to be haunted. From mysterious, scary discoveries to horrifying ghost apparitions, here are 5 terrifying tunnels with paranormal tales. Number 5. Drakelow Tunnels. Based on the 2020 research and survey conducted by the UK's leading paranormal magazine, Haunted Magazine, the Drakelow Tunnel Complex has been declared to be one of the most haunted places on this side of the British Isle. Situated beneath the Blake Shale Estate, north of Kidderminster, Worcestershire, and covering 285,000 square feet with a total length of 3.5 miles, the tunnels were originally built as a Second World War shadow factory and were developed to become a fallback government center during the Cold War. Rumor has it that along its winding labyrinth of pathways, the lives of at least 7 unknown people were taken for various mysterious reasons. Some had allegedly died as a result of a roof that collapsed, while others perished due to a deadly impact with a military truck. There were also reports of individuals who met their end on the many conveyor belts. In 2016, paranormal investigator Anthony Mark shared his shocking discovery when he visited the infamous tunnel. Armed with a video camera, he surveyed the area as part of a project for his niche group, the Afterlight Paranormal. Nothing extraordinary occurred when he went to the place, but when he replayed the footage he had taken, he witnessed a jaw-dropping spectacle. In the video, he saw a ghostly face staring directly at him. He further analyzed the static sound from the footage and heard a conversation between what seemed to be 2 unseen people. The first one asked, "Are you stuck here?" To which the other responded with, "Yes, by you." The camera then zoomed to show a shape of what looked like a person's face, with its eyes looking directly at Mark. Numerous redevelopment plans and projects were currently proposed for the Drakelow tunnels, but despite its current state, this UK underground is still teeming with weird activities, the sort that would scare even the most experienced paranormal investigators. Number 4. Silver Run Tunnel. Legend has it that in 1910, a young engineer was taking a midnight express from Grafton to Clarksburg in West Virginia. The tracks, which are around 170 miles in distance, run from Baltimore, Maryland, and into Ohio, cutting right through West Virginia along the way. This is the route that the man had been running for quite a long time already, and never had he dreamt of having a weird encounter. That night, the engineer was trailing the short stretch of railway at the entrance of tunnel number 19, which is part of the Silver Run Tunnel. The train still hadn't gone into the underground, and the moon at that time was glowing very bright and the headlights beaming at their full strength, and that's when he saw a woman in a pale dress. She had long, raven-colored hair, and he could see that she wore a pair of golden slippers. She was walking along the tracks, oblivious of the huge locomotive machine approaching fast towards her. Terrified that he would hit the woman, the engineer tried desperately to stop the train. He threw the brakes into emergency mode, but try as he might, he couldn't stop in time. And then the extraordinary happened. A thick layer of fog came down upon the tracks. The engineer and his firemen immediately ran towards the site of the incident, but found no trace of anyone being run over. It was as if the fog had swallowed up the pale lady. They reported what they saw to the watchman stationed at the next tunnel, but instead of getting spooked, the officials spoke about other instances in which trains encountered the same woman. As rumors spread, another engineer, who went by the name of O'Flannery, scoffed and swore that if he saw the woman, he would drive straight through her. And indeed, one foggy night, O'Flannery met what he expected: the woman in the pale dress walking along the tracks. With a smug face, he drove and did not switch the brake. Then, when he got to Parkersburg, he was met with some shocking news. Apparently, telegraphers along the route saw a young woman in a pale, white gown and golden slippers riding in the train's co-watcher. Other accounts from witnesses indicated that, if not standing in railways or riding co-watchers, the lady in the Silver Run Tunnel would oftentimes wave at train passengers just to say hi. Number 3. Moonville Tunnel. It's interesting to note that the little town of Moonville in Vinton County, Ohio, wouldn't have existed on the map had it not been for its infamous rail tunnel. Owing its name to the town, the Moonville Tunnel came to be when a local landowner donated a piece of his property to the rail company that was building a track leading toward Cincinnati. This not only allowed him to haul commodities like coal and clay easily, it also paved way for people from neighboring towns to settle in this new settlement. Soon enough, more and more travelers began using the railway, but then problems began to arise. The builders seemed to be oblivious to the dangers of their design. The tunnel was found to be quite narrow, just enough to fit the rail tracks. But given the convenience of not having to walk around the valley, people would still prefer using the system, but for a price. Records indicate that at least 5 people perished after either being hit or sideswiped by trains. The most recent accident took place in 1986. Because of this, the line was decommissioned. Nonetheless, there have been rumors saying that the tunnel is still in use, though not by beings of this realm. One of the most prevalent figures in this tunnel is the lantern-waving man. According to legend, it was a hard winter during the time and the town was in desperate need of heating supplies. Trains passed by the place but never stopped, and so locals hatched a plan to let someone stand at the edge of the tunnel to wave a lamp. They expected trains to take the cue and halt, but the plan was never smart from the get-go. The man who volunteered supposedly got drunk and fell asleep. When he heard the train coming, he ran to the end of the tunnel as planned. But it was already too late for the train to see the light and hit the brakes, and the person was instantly killed. Since then, his soul is said to be wandering along the track bed near the old tunnel every single night. This caused confusion to operators using the track. Because of this, the rail company opted to install a signal light at the mouth of the tunnel. They then instructed engineers to ignore any other light that they might see. The coal mining town of Moonville has long since been abandoned, but the tale of that one unlucky man continues to spook those who dare to visit the Moonville Tunnels. Number 2. Shanghai Tunnels. Portland is one of America's most livable cities today, but centuries ago, this town in Oregon was regarded to be extremely dangerous. And the reason can be found in the place that few people know about and even fewer have set their foot in: the Portland Underground, aka the Shanghai Tunnels. Lying beneath the ground is a complex of 150-year-old tunnels connecting the city's oldest buildings to Portland's Chinatown. The said passageways were built by early Chinese settlers as their means to transport their goods from the cargo ships moored in the inner city. By using these series of tunnels, port laborers were able to avoid the hassle of inner-city traffic. It was even more convenient for business owners, as many of them stored their products in their basements, which happened to be connected to the tunnels. Unfortunately, unknown to Portlanders, these tunnels had a much more sinister use. In the second half of the 19th century, many sailors who found better opportunities on dry land abandoned their sea life. Others found it hard to let go of their vices like drinking in bars, flirting with women, or fighting in the saloons. As a result, sea captains were confronted with empty decks. Adding to the challenge was the fact that there were only a few who were willing to fill in the positions. To solve this dilemma, captains would hire men to Shanghai replacement sailors for big bucks. These Shanghaiers would prowl the streets of Portland, its bars, saloons, and taverns. Their target were young, able-bodied men who were by themselves, drunk and sometimes unconscious. They would then drag their victims down to the basement, through the tunnels, and off to the docks. Once on board, these unwilling sailors would be forced to do hard labor. Some managed to escape the ships and warn the public about the Shanghaiers, who basically kidnapped men and made them work on ships sailing to Asia. Adding more to the infamy, these nefarious individuals would also tend to abduct women, who they later sold into prostitution. The legend suggests that these poor men and women were held in underground tunnel systems in old Portland, waiting to be picked up by seafarers. As one might expect, some of these victims wouldn't last long from the harsh conditions they had to deal with underground. If not taken, these Shanghaied individuals died in the tunnels, never to be heard from again. Paranormal experts who were brave enough to traverse its dark, quiet, and damp interiors would swear feeling creepy vibes uniquely only to these tunnels. Some recounted seeing women in white dresses strolling aimlessly around. Others claimed hearing voices of men who were wailing in pain and agony. These are just but some of the many otherworldly personalities inhabiting these subterranean pathways. As of today, there are several paranormal organizations offering guided tours in what is declared to be the most haunted place in all of Oregon State. Number 1. Kyoto Tunnel. Known within the country and even around the world as the most haunted destination in Japan, the Kyoto Tunnel is a single-lane route running along northern Arashiyama and connecting to the neighboring town of Saga Kiyotaki in the Kyoto prefecture. The weirdness of this infrastructure starts off with this harrowing detail. According to records, the tunnel was unintentionally built to measure 444 meters in length. It so happens that in Japanese culture, 4 is an unlucky number. The reason being that its character is sometimes pronounced as shi, which is the word for death. No wonder Japanese establishments don't have rooms or levels labeled with the number 4. But there's more to the place than just this bad omen. The Kyoto Tunnel is truly a place where unexplainable accidents and countless deaths mysteriously have occurred. Locals have been warning motorists never to look into the road mirrors curiously built outside the tunnel or even in the rear view and side mirrors of their vehicles. There are claims saying that if you do, you could catch a glimpse of spirits reflected in these panels, causing you as a driver to lose focus and thus bring about accidents and mishaps on the road. Meanwhile, those who dare glance in their rearview mirrors will allegedly see themselves as a dead person and will likely suffer this foretold grim fate in a matter of days. There are also testimonies of drivers seeing the traffic signals outside of the tunnel showing the opposite sign from red to green and green to red. The confusion would then cause collisions among oncoming vehicles. If that's not enough to add infamy to the place, this area is also said to be a hotspot for suicide, due in part to the woodland seclusion and the overgrowing trees found above the tunnel. Rumors are running rampant of men and women who leapt to their deaths from the road that runs above the tunnel entrance. And stories are now being told that the spirits of these troubled people sometimes haunt passersby and motorists who happen to be around the area. Hauntings are said to occur often at night, and one particularly disturbing figure roaming the area is a roadside woman. She is often seen wearing a white dress. Drivers going through the tunnel would recount perplexing moments when they seemed to see someone leaping from high up above the entrance. When they made it to the other end, they would notice a pair of handprints impressed on the hoods of their cars. The local community is now warning the public never to use the tunnel, especially at night. They suggest taking alternate routes which, while they are much longer, are also much safer. So there were 5 terrifying tunnels with paranormal tales. Like haunted houses and creepy buildings, old and abandoned tunnels have taken their place in urban legends and folklore as structures where unexplainable phenomena can happen. So next time you're driving and about to go through a tunnel, hopefully you're prepared to see something strange. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode. If you enjoyed this video, then subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell. We have new ones coming out every single week, and on Patreon you can get an additional exclusive video, so go check that out.